What's going on, Pokemon Go trainers? Welcome to episode 101. 101. Lured Up, the podcast where we take Pokemon Go way more seriously than we do ourselves. Lured Up is part of the Pokemon Professor Network. Today is Sunday, October 20th, 2019. I'm your host, Ken, joined by my co-hosts, Adam and Melissa. Hello, friends.
Oh, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello,
Hi there.
how are you? And we're not alone. We are joined by our podcast brother in crime, Chris from the GoCast Podcast. Chris, how are you, man? Welcome.
Hey, what's going
Hello.
on,
Hey.
brethren?
Yes, how are you? How you been, man?
Oh, I'm great. I feel like I just saw you guys this past week because I listened to your guys' show, but I realized just how, like, inside baseball inane that probably sounds, but it's true.
I feel like we were just the Maripa.
I still taste the Malort. I still taste it.
Oh, no, don't.
It'll
I
follow you
can't.
for the rest of your life. You're welcome.
That shit was nasty.
It was
If you guys
nasty.
have never had Malort, and I'd imagine that most people haven't, but Chris, when we had our podcast meetup at Chicago Go Fest, Chris bought a round of Malort, maybe 2 rounds of Malort.
I was not ready.
I
Who's
don't
counting?
remember.
Who's counting?
No, I think it was Kyle took the best picture of Melissa's face, like
I was so petrified.
so good.
Disgusted.
So good. All right, well, we're going to get to know Chris in a little bit. Little housekeeping really quick. This podcast is powered by Patreon. Please check ours out over at patreon.com/Pokemon Professor, where you can support this show for as little as $1 a month. And that $1 will get you access to our patron-exclusive Discord, which is a fantastic place filled with fantastic people.
It sure is.
And I want to give a huge shout out to our show supporter tier patrons. I will list them all after the break. Thank you guys in advance. But if Patreon isn't your thing, there's a few other ways you could help us out. If you're listening on YouTube, you can subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. If you're listening via a podcast service like Apple Podcasts, you can take a moment to leave us a review. 5 stars are the best stars. All right, on today's show, we're going to talk Pokemon Go and podcasting with Chris. Halloween 2019 event is in full effect, and there's a lot of stuff, a lot of tricks and treats. And we have all the details on the Colossal Discovery event, which we were speculating hard as hell on in last week's episode, and we have all the details now, so we'll review that. Wayfarer is here, sort of. We'll get into that a little bit. So we have some miscellaneous news, some listener emails, and then we're going to do a Darkrai raid guide and battle party.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop.
Whoops. Whoops.
I mean, obviously, we'll do it better.
I was thinking
yeah.
about using the Mareep Up audio for the battle party whoop whoop later, because
you should.
since this is a little Mareepish, bit of a throwback. But Chris, why don't you introduce yourself? I have here written in the notes, GoCast introductions. Who the fuck are you, and what the fuck do you do? So,
All right.
why don't you
Well, I got to spread my wings here a little bit because my show is family friendly. So who the fuck am I?
Yes!
I'm GoCast Chris, or just Chris from GoCast Podcast. And what the fuck do I do? It's really similar to what we do here. But we also have a show on Pokemon Go. It's a family-friendly show, but our caveat and our angle is a lot on goal setting and really trying to cover every single perspective on any given topic within the game. Mostly it's a lot of like divisive types of news, like the whole, like for what's a good example would be this whole Colossal event ticket. We tried to say like, hey, what are people saying in the community? What is a good counter argument? What's a silver lining if people are saying that something's bad? Like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, kind of cover the whole gambit. And then, really a lot of listener engagement, emails and all that good stuff.
That's awesome, man. It's really cool, and we'll get into it in a minute. But I'm a huge advocate for podcasting. I know that you have a shit ton of experience podcasting. Why don't you talk about your history with podcasting even prior to the GoCast?
Oh, sure. Okay, so about 10 years ago, a little bit under 10 years ago, when I was leaving high school, I started a podcast on a little-known game at the time, League of Legends, when it was first starting. I actually picked up a physical copy of that game in a Best Buy.
Physical
when
media,
it was
what?
Yeah. When it was in beta. And let's see, we had 7 hosts on. Every single episode.
Oh my God,
yeah,
dude,
I don't want to talk
why?
about that part because it was an awful idea. Look, it was a high school brain. Okay, like I don't know what to tell you. They were all my friends. If I left one out, they were gonna be sad. Couldn't have any sad boy hours. Couldn't have that happen. But that show was wild, fun, crazy, and that was kind of during a wild west of podcasting, both for myself personally and kind of for the podcast sphere. Since then, I've left that show to my best friend, who was a listener, got into our team speak that we had for that show, took over that show. I left it to him and then started GoCast a couple of years later. Once Pokemon Go kind of came out a year later, thought it'd be fun. Hey, podcasting would be great for this. And lo and behold, the community in this game is just miles beyond as far as positivity is concerned, as far as
all right, well,
fantabulous.
Hard stop, because I love the fact that every time you talk about this community, like you're coming out of League of Legends, you're like, wow, the Pokemon Go community is so positive, and it's like, dude, this community is fucking toxic as hell. And it's like, it's so funny that I can only imagine how crazy the League of Legends community must have been if you think that the Go community is like, peaches and cream. It's so funny.
Well, okay, I mean, like, what's funny is mostly it was toxic, and the League of Legends community still largely is kind of toxic, but it's because it's a very heavily competitive game, and there is no other outlet in that sphere other than competition, right?
Yeah, right.
Pokemon has collecting and all these other conversations about it. You can talk about it other ways besides PvP, but League of Legends is either you win or you lose, and it was somebody else's fault if you lost.
Right.
But more so, I mean, there were other shows in that sphere as well, and there were a couple of different. We could talk for hours about the history of League of Legends podcasting, or I could, I suppose. But everybody was so at each other's throats. Like, I came to the first Maribup after we put out our first episode to meet everybody else there, and I was not sure what to expect. I was like, is everybody going to be like aggressive? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, does this guy know what he's doing?
And like, just I shut up. I was like, hey, listen to your first episode. Adam gave me some great advice. He's like, look, you got to have a little hook at the beginning. And since then, I've had a hook at the beginning of every episode.
Every time. It's right there.
There you go. Well, why don't you talk about the GoCast a bit? Let us know about the show, because I think the podcast space is starting to parallel what we're seeing in the video space, where you have all these video creators. Obviously, they're all covering Pokemon Go, but clearly people have different styles of production and cinematography and their approach to the game and their attitude towards the game and the mechanics and the community. What makes GoCast? Like, what is there a specific sentiment or a feeling that you try to get across in your content? Because I think that there is a significant amount of diversity across the different Pokemon Go podcasts, even though we're all covering the same shit. The delivery and the kind of messaging and the feelings behind it are very different between them. So, like, what is it about GoCast that kind of, separates you from, say, a Lured Up or a Pokemon Go Radio?
Sure. I mean, besides the obvious that, I mean, all of us are also kind of like, our personalities are a draw, right? People listen to podcasts because they feel like they're hanging out with friends and having conversations. They feel like they have a relationship with the hosts. In a lot of ways they do, especially if you write in and send emails and stuff or engage with each of us on our social platforms. But beyond that, I mean, the goal setting that I mentioned before, we knew before we hit level 40 that we were going to... Before we hit level 40, let me just back up. We were setting goals for ourselves every single episode so that we made sure that we kept ourselves engaged with the game, because that was a real concern at first while I was still trying to convince Kyle, my co-host, and then my wife at the time also. Well, she's still my wife, but at the time co-host.
I was like, wait a minute.
What happened? Yeah, let's say, damn, drop the bomb.
Breaking news. No, she has since left the show, but the three of us were trying to make sure we stayed engaged and set these goals every single time. And it actually worked out great because I was the first to 40 in our group. And I was like, I still kept setting goals, and it just kind of stuck. It's now this thing that we do every single episode. We talk about the goals this past week. We set goals at the end. And if we have guests on, we make sure that they set goals before they leave, and we follow up with them on social or otherwise. And I feel like that's kind of it. A lot of people, I feel like that's the thing, a lot of people write in and are like, oh, hey, these are the goals I'm working on. This is what I'm really proud of. Thank you for keeping me engaged during an otherwise quiet time in the game, Yeah. So I'd say that's what sets us apart.
I love that.
Most.
Yeah, no, you guys do a real good job with that, and your shows are always very full of community engagement and community interaction, which is awesome. You guys got a really good freaking good group over there. It's really cool.
Thank you.
But what about Kyle? Let's talk about Kyle a bit. I wish he was here.
Kyle?
I love him. I love him so much
he?
because he's like Kyle is. He almost reminds me of like the Melissa of your show, where you could be like pumping something up for like 20 minutes, like I love it. It'll be like, Kyle, how about you? And he's like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, let me tell you why I don't like that.
I love that shit. But why don't you like just let if people haven't heard your show? I mean, I'm sure they've already gotten like the positive vibe feel from you already. What can you tell us about Kyle? Because I think he's a really nice balance to your perspective.
Right. I mean, everybody likes a Bo Burnham, right? That dry delivery, and I feel like Kyle does that. I mean, he's not without personality himself. I'm warm, I'm soft, and he will come in and he's very confident in cutting me down if I need to be cut down to a particular size, right? He's like, I don't know about that, man. Like, let's reel it in. Let's reframe that. That doesn't seem logical. Also, Chris, stop talking so much.
I love when you guys get into a conversation about like boxes or like a box sale. I can't wait. I was just like, I can't wait to hear what Kyle says. He's just gonna shit on these boxes. I can't wait. So he's so funny, so good. But Kyle, we miss you, man.
Yeah, he's like the sobering other half, I would say.
Nice. That's good stuff, man. Yeah, he's you guys make a great pair, and you have a really good balance of perspective and play style. So that makes for a pretty solid dynamic. But I do want to shift gears. I want to talk podcasting here because I'm a huge nerd for the format. We've kind of had some conference calls behind the scenes with myself and you and the guys from Pokemon Go Radio, and we've decided that we're going to be doing some joint promotions in the future to help reach new people. And I think this is really important because as your show has grown and Lured Up and everything has grown, we're at the point where over the past 2 weeks, we've had Niantic come on our shows, which is absolutely amazing. Because this is it took the YouTubers a year and a half to get acknowledged by Niantic at large, and then it was like another year after that for them to actually have some kind of direct interaction. And seeing that shift from the video space of Niantic interaction to now working with podcasts, man, it's awesome. We're in a very fortunate position, and I think this is a great opportunity for us to kind of come together and figure out how can we approach the larger Niantic-based audience. And that's really the social media and video space, and kind of get those people to listen to podcasts, because podcast people are typically podcast people. It's like if there's someone that listens to a podcast, they probably listen to like 10 podcasts.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So it's like, usually it's hot or cold.
Guilty.
Right. So it's like I want to find the person that's never heard a podcast before. Like I want to find the people that have never heard a show. They maybe, saw an audio podcast and they clicked on a YouTube link and maybe caught a couple seconds of it on YouTube, but they don't have a podcast app downloaded. They don't actually listen to the episodes, kind of like Melissa. So then it's like, but
Pretty much.
she's never heard one of our shows. It's the greatest.
See,
thing.
I'm weird, and I go back and listen to our episodes, and I'm like, man, I love us. I love listening to us.
I will firmly stick by the statement that if I hear myself, I'll never do it ever again.
To Melissa's credit, I mean, she's here live. It's like listening to a band on tour play it live and then going home and listening to the CD. It just doesn't stack up, You
don't have to tell me. I was there. So good. That's so good. But look, podcasting is still a new format. And I think the success and the growth that Pokemon Go has seen in the video space is in part due to the fact that these creators have come together. I mean, albeit with the help of Niantic in some cases, but the creators have come together. They collaborate a ton. They work with each other. They have an awesome relationship for the most part. There's sometimes you see little beefs here and there, but these, everybody kind of works together for the greater good, and you have this cross recognition between brands. And I think that that's something that I'm trying to accomplish with podcasting right now, and I'm excited to do some, collaborative work with you and the guys from Pokemon Go Radio in the future. So to get where I'm going with this, I've created this hashtag that we're going to be pushing that I think is a pretty cool dynamic for people that have never listened to a podcast before. And this is going to be, it's going to be hashtag listen while you play, because I think the message of the big difference between video content, which people are consuming, hours a day of Pokemon Go, video content, you have to be engaged 100% with that. Where with a podcast, you can play the game that you're talking about here and listen to a podcast while you play. And I think that's going to be the message that we'll be pushing forward. But I am very, very excited, and I think that your audience is different from Pokemon Go Radio's audience, which is different from the Lured Up audience. And of course, you've got some commingling, but 3 distinct style shows, 3 distinct audiences coming together to kind of grow everything. What's your kind of perspective on the challenges of building a podcast audience? Because I think that's a very interesting thing and challenging, especially when you have the thought process of, oh man, it's how do I differentiate competition between brands with collaboration with brands? Like it's a weird road to navigate, right? But like, right. What do you think? Like I think that we're on the cusp of really reeling in some audience that we haven't had before, because it seems people are starting to engage with podcasts a little bit more. Are you getting that vibe at all?
I definitely am. And I mean, without talking about it too much, because Ken, you and I would probably talk about stats all day and stuff like that. But to just kind of keep it short, long and short of it is that there's definitely been an uptick. I mean, and I'm sure bringing on guests and stuff has a lot to do with that. But as YouTube is making certain moves, you see people moving to different content. And I think podcasting is definitely one of them. And in particular, like you were saying, the hashtag itself says, I suppose, listen while you play. Podcasting can go with you anywhere. And if there's one thing that Pokemon Go players do is they go fucking everywhere, you know? Yeah. So it's like, it's a perfect solution. But I think kind of going back to something you were saying earlier, people might have very little exposure to podcasts. And if they do, it's like a little snippet of like an audio version on like a video platform or something like that. Right. I think it's really hard for somebody that clicks on that and they are already sitting and they're in this mindset of video consumption for them to sit and look at a picture and try to really get into an audio show. It could be the most entertaining thing in the world, but that's not going to cut it for somebody that's there. So I think the brilliance of the hashtag is really like, this is the setting, listen while you play. This is the setting in which you will enjoy this content. It's not on your computer on a YouTube channel, although some people do like to do that in the background, but very few people discover it like that.
I put up a poll on Twitter, and this poll got a ton of engagement, but I asked the question, how do you listen to your audio settings in the game? Like, what do you actually do? Do you have sound effects and music off? Do you have sound effects on, music off, music on, sound off, or both on? And 80%, it was like 81% of the votes were people playing with the game sound off, music off, sound off, so it's like,
well, first off, how embarrassing is it when you turn on the game and it's like, when
you accidentally have sound on, you wake the dead.
I don't know, man. I kind of I scan the room, like who's giving me the eye right now? Like who else plays? Like,
or vice versa. And you hear somebody walking past you, and you're like, "Oh God, they just logged in."
But look, 81% of the people on social that interacted with that post don't listen to the game sound. It's like, man, those are the people I want to talk to, because those are the people I want to fill their ears with freaking podcasts while they're playing, because it's not taking away from any of the game experience, because they're not engaging with the game audio anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's interesting. But
how many of those people, really quick, do you think would go to sound on and music off if you could turn the sound down a little bit? Because I play with sound on, and if I'm listening to music, Pokeball sounds are so loud in comparison to everything else in the background.
That's funny that you said that, because I put that in the comments of that Twitter poll. I said, man, it would be, I know I'm pushing it here, but it would be amazing to have volume sliders, because then I could just barely give me a little bit of the sound effects. That way it's like I'm not dead, the audio isn't dead air. I'm actually getting a little bit of something. That would be ideal.
Yeah.
But again, we're trying to reach new people. Look out for some promotions coming from the podcast space. We're going to be infiltrating social and video platforms to kind of reach new people and kind of incentivize people to try out podcasts. And I think that's one of the other things that's really cool and a little bit different from some of the video creators is the way that communities are able to interact with the podcast hosts. And I think that's something that all three of the shows do really well. We have exceptionally, busy and active Discords. We're going to be, putting together a PvP, podcast versus podcast, PvP tournament, remote tournament. So we got that going on. We do some awesome IRL events. We have our meetup, the Mareep Up, every year in Chicago. 2 years ago, we, I don't know how many people were there 2 years ago. Maybe like 30 people, 30 something people. Tiny little bar.
The RSVP was 45. I think we saw around 40 that came in and out. But I think at one time, like low 30s.
Yeah. And then this last year, we took over the whole freaking bar. And
that was a lot of fun.
It was absolutely amazing.
It was incredible. It was a great time.
Well, this year actually, it was. What the fuck was it? Monk's Pub? I don't know. We had like 100 something people RSVP, and there was just people coming in and out all night. Creators and friends, and we were rowdy. We had Go Live there doing PvP tournament. It was so freaking awesome. I'm really excited.
Yeah, we
for
need
next
to do
year.
that again. 100%.
Oh yeah.
No. I was kind of had a call the other night with Chris, and we were talking about the Mareep Up plans for next year. And I told him, I was just like, "Nah, dude, we're going big."
I'm so down. When you said that, my heart skipped a beat. I'm like, "Oh, Ken, yes, yes, let's do it."
So hopefully you'll be meeting some new people and new trainers as we try to grow our audience, man. We got the podcast powers coming together. Very excited. All right, we got to talk about the game. This is a Pokemon Go podcast, right? It's not just a podcast. All right,
we could do a podcast. Hit me up. Let's do it.
That'd be fucking awesome. No, but look, I do want to talk about the game itself, and you're kind of talking about how you were the first to hit 40 in your group. Melissa is fucking close. Melissa's a couple million experience away from 40. Melissa, we got to get you there. We got to fucking get you there. It's gonna happen.
If fucking Pokemon would let me have a goddamn fucking good game day one time in my life, that'd be fucking brilliant, and maybe I'll get there.
What does a good game day look like?
Just go to Red Bank and catch all the fucking Zigzagoon and Venonat.
I've not this fucking Halloween event's I can't even. It's corny so far.
Oh no!
Oh god, Melissa,
candy corny.
It's candy corny.
And those are disgusting. So.
Yeah.
They just need to
Why
be
isn't
open
there a
and
candy
dumped
corn
in the trash.
Pokemon?
But all right, this is something that I battle with that I wanted to talk to you about because I know you're an audiophile. I know you spend time grinding on podcast edits and all that good stuff. Do you play this game as much as you want, and how do you balance the creation versus consuming? Creating a podcast, creating content, consuming video content, consuming audio content, and playing the game. How does that balance work out for you? Because I'm at the point now where I'm on a 90-10 split. It's I'm engaged with Pokemon Go in one way or another, but only 10% of it is playing the actual game. It's 90% is just fucking sitting in front of a computer. How does that work out for you? And, as a trainer, what do you do to kind of stay motivated with that?
Yeah, so a lot of the times, the goals will keep me motivated. For example, one of the goals that we set this past week, I'll get back to the whole work-life balance stuff in a minute. But for example, I set a goal that I wanted to finish the Spooky Message this past week, and so I just went out the day it came out. I finished it in 12 hours or whatever. I had 2 chunks to play. I just knocked it out. Went out to a park. An hour. Did my one-away berries. Next day, did my one-away catches. Donezo. Finished. Right. Easy peasy. But I find that I play, but only when I have a certain goal in mind. It's either I'm going for a walk and I'll play on the way, or I'm going out and I'm going to play very hard and I only have an hour or two to do so.
Yeah.
But I think in comparison to the amount of time I spend probably working with the podcast or with our community, because that is also a lot of time and investment, I would probably say a 90-10 split isn't too far off. I try to give myself 80-20. a little bit, 20% in the game and 80% like talking about the podcast, talking to people about the podcast, on people in the podcast community, blah, blah, blah.
What it does for me, though, is like it just gives me focused time. Like I'll be like, all right, I got an hour and a half or 2 hours to play. I got to fucking get it in, right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like and stay focused and just knock it out. And it's like, all right, it's like, dude, I haven't fucking raided. Like I haven't raided at all because I just haven't been on like a normal schedule lately. It's just been wild. But I think this is a good transition here that we could talk about what you did with raids. Why don't you please talk about the 500 raids of summer, because this was so awesome to follow on your show. Please tell our community what that was all about and how that worked out for you.
Yeah, what I was going to say was if you want to raid more, just make it something that you have to do.
Yeah, make it content.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, right? Because then it makes it, you don't feel as bad, right? Because there's always this background guilt of like, I should be making content sort of thing. I think YouTubers talk about this quite a bit. They talked about it on your show and our show, but when they're not creating, they feel kind of guilty. But for 500 raids of summer particularly, it was a joke at first. It was like it's a play on 500 days of summer. And before summer started, we talked about it. It's kind of like a joke. And then people in our community were kind of like goading me to like do it. It'd be kind of fun. I said, okay, fine. We're going to commit. We're going to make it a fundraiser. We're going to do videos. I'm going to track all my stats. I'm going to make a spreadsheet because I love organized data. And we'll do this. And so I went out, I crunched the numbers, had to do a certain number of raids on average per day between the first day of summer, which was June 21st to September 23rd, something like that.
Yeah.
I had to do 500. And if I didn't do it, I had to change my team from Valor to Instinct. So,
come on. Why did you guys push him so hard?
That was motivation enough for me. It wasn't necessarily anything against Instinct. It was kind of like a point of pride at that point in time that I said I could do it, and I had 3 months, so I had to do it.
But still, dude, you did a lot of raids. That's a lot of raiding. That's a lot of raiding.
We ended up raising $370 for the National Park Foundation.
So awesome.
Yes, and most, if not all of that, was from our patron group. So thank you guys so much again if you're listening. That was awesome. Couldn't have done it without you. Yeah, but 500 is a lot of raids.
How many raids did you do before this? Like before you started, like what was your total raid count? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was like 353.
That's great. And that's like in a year.
Yeah.
And then you try to do 500, in a summer. It's so crazy. It's not cheap either.
No, but thankfully, as I do like raiding, I didn't really raid a whole lot prior to that, just kind of casually, so I never really went past the one free raid pass a day, unless they were raid days, in which case they gave you more. And so I just had a stockpile of literally like 300 raid passes before I even got started, and so it just kind of was the perfect storm, I guess.
Nice. Well, that's good. And what about PvP? Like I know that you and Kyle both have a connection to PvP. How has this changed the way you play the game and the style of play for you and your community? Do you see like a shift towards PvP?
I think the people that really align themselves with PvP have kind of separated themselves like that, and not in a way that's divisive, but they have identified themselves as PvPers, as the same sort of way that hardcore raiders did versus people that just played casually,
Yep.
So it's just another like aspect of the community. But I think for like our community in particular, we've made it so that if you join our Discord, we fast track you, similar to what you guys do and what PGR does as well. We'll fast track you to Ultra Friends. We've got a spreadsheet, the whole deal. But it just seems like a great addition. I don't feel like people really sacrifice anything when they want a PvP, except for Stardust. Yeah, millions and millions of Stardust. But beyond that, I feel like, if you still like to raid, you still raid. It doesn't consume your entire playtime.
Let's put the tinfoil hats on. Everyone's gonna, this is I ask everyone that comes on the show, at least leading up to when this releases, the in-game PvP mechanics that are coming, that we've seen in the code, the Versus Seeker and all that. How do you think this is going to work? How would you like to see it work? And do you think this is going to really, blow the doors open of PvP as far as awareness and, the user base actually engaging in it? Like, do you think this is going to be a game changer, matchmaking, or?
I think it's going to be a game changer, but I think it's going to be a game changer in the way that it's going to complement the systems that are already in place. Originally, I had a theory that they were going to acquire, they being Niantic, acquire some of these content creators, I suppose you could call Sylph.
Sure.
That had built this amazing infrastructure, right? Like it's working really well. People engage with it. They really like it. It's been vetted. It's incredible. And they have a system that works and appeals to a lot of people already. It would seem mad to somebody on a surface level that Niantic wouldn't just say, all right, here's a bunch of money, come work with us, sort of thing. Because that's what companies kind of do.
Right. Sure.
But when you're talking about the Pokemon Company and its subsidiaries, Niantic being a licensed one in this case, they like to define the way that they do things on their own terms. So a built-in ranked matchmaking would probably be more of like, it would be similar to the systems that are already in place in the game, right? So this verse seeker that was found in the code a while ago, I would imagine it would be tied to some aspect of walking.
That's what Melissa thinks.
Yeah, or like some sort of coin investment.
Well, that's the big divide. That's where I like to talk about, because it's like, is this going to be obviously it's not pay to win, but this would be a straight pay to play scenario versus play to play scenario. You know what I mean? Like I heard the argument when they announced the Ferocious Cup, where the meta is really put on its head. People are like, fuck, I don't have the Stardust. I actually have to go out and catch. And it's like, okay, so now PvP is driving the other core mechanics of the game, which is ideal, you know, because you want people to get out there. They need TMs, you got to raid. So now the PvPers are out there raiding. They have new Pokemon they need to power up. They need Stardust. Okay, they're out there grinding and catching Pokemon. So the one system is supporting another. So I'm down with that. But is it going to be where you have to monetarily dump passes or coins into this Versus Seeker versus something like, all right, you just got to walk? Maybe this has something to do with the buddy system where you're walking to charge this thing up. Wow, it's such a divisive conversation, because I don't know, man. I don't know what it's going to be like, subscription or pay to play. Like you're gonna have, oh man, I don't know.
I'd like it if it was something doing with walking.
Yeah, my heart is in the walking thing too, Adam. Yeah.
Yeah, because right now it's just all you've got is eggs. And it's like, eggs are cool, but...
Well, we know that the buddy system is going to be updated. So maybe, you know, Melissa had a good point, like saying where, you know, maybe the buddy system with the route maker, you know, as you're creating these routes, maybe that distance between, you know, point to point in those routes, it counts towards charging the Versus Seeker. Maybe... I don't know. I just don't know. I just hope it's not coins, honestly. Man.
What if it was like an adventure sync reward where you got like a certain number of tries based on how many kilometers you walked?
Yeah. That's
it could be so many different things. I know. And that's why this conversation is so good. But I really hope it's tied to walking. I don't want it to be tied to coin generation, because people are already kind of sore about that with the limit of 50 coins.
What if you have to put Stardust in it?
You know,
well, then you'd have to catch more Pokemon.
I'll do it. I just won't be happy about it.
Yeah. Shit. Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see where and how that goes, because it's gonna be a game changer.
But like
everything.
Leaderboards aren't a Pokemon thing. They don't really do those. You know, they do big championships and stuff like that for TCG, and they do Worlds, VGC, and stuff like that. But in-game leaderboards just aren't a Pokemon thing.
Well, I think that this could complement what we saw with the Pokemon Global Link on the 3DS, where they would do these scheduled calendar events that had specific battles with specific conditions, similar to creating these Sylph metas where, it was either specific typing or a specific color or a specific family. Like some of the conditions got kind of weird, but they were these scheduled things. Okay, here's the registration window, here's your game window, here's the window to pick up your prize. And that could be something they do with the Versus, like either with the Versus Seeker or with this online ranking system or in-game ranking system. Who the hell knows? I have no idea. Right. I'm excited though. But Chris, thank you for coming on the show, man. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate all three of you. Thank you for hanging out with me weekly while I listen to your show.
No, it's really awesome to have you on. I'm looking forward to collaborating with you more in the future and getting the gospel of podcasting out there to the masses. I think this is a great time for both of our shows, and I look forward to working with you more in the future, man. It's gonna be a good 2020.
Likewise. Thanks a million.
Hell yeah. So why don't you let our community know where they can find you and where they can find your show, and plug away, man. Giggity.
All right. So I'm gonna plug away. You can find our show on a number of platforms. Actually, all the same platforms you can find the show you're listening to currently.
Yep.
Lured Up, which is spectacular. You guys should support these guys on Patreon. But we also have one, but I won't talk about that. We talk about our show all the time. GoCastPodcast.com. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search for GoCast Podcast. Same name everywhere. Blanket branding. It really is just chef's kiss. That's the way to go. I'm working on doing some live streaming that will be available to non-patrons as well, but after a delay. So we'll be talking about trying to figure out if we're going to do Twitch or YouTube yet. Not quite sure. But that stuff's coming down the pipeline. But yeah, GoCastPodcast.com for everything. And you can also send us emails to mail@GoCastPodcast.com. Just subscribe on iTunes, the same stuff, you know.
Awesome. Well, I'll put links to everything that you just mentioned in the podcast description. Everyone, please take a moment to check out GoCast. Leave them a positive review. It helps a ton. And,
we implore you.
Yes, and support the podcast space. If you listen to one, listen to them all. Even if you don't listen, fucking subscribe. I don't give a shit.
That bell.
I'm shameless. I'll sell out this fucking second.
Click the notification button, whatever you have to do.
Turn the bell on. It's like, fuck, 17 alerts from all the different apps and podcasts. It's like, all right, one podcast.
That's just love from us to you.
Yes, but dude, thanks again for coming on. Please give our best to Kyle, and we look forward to working with you more in the future. But everyone else, we're going to take a quick break when we come. It's not going to be the Slowpoke song. I got new music, yo. So don't worry about that.
Jeez.
I'm kind of disappointed. I like the Slowpoke song.
I know, but Melissa said I was playing it out, so she's like, you got to switch it up. I figure, actually, if you're listening to the show, you heard our new intro song. So we have all new music, courtesy of Game Chops coming through and giving us some great music. So links to Game Chops in the description as well. But also, we're going to be taking a quick break. When we come back, we're going to run through the news, including all the stuff that's happening this week, including the Halloween event, Colossal Discovery, Wayfarer. We've got a couple listener emails, and then finally wrap up with that Darkrai raid guide and battle party. Whoop, whoop. Thank you guys so much for listening to the top half of the show. Chris, thanks again.
You got it. Thank you.
And everyone, we'll be right back after these tunes. And we are back from our break. Thank you guys so much for that. GoCast Chris, thank you for coming on the show. Always good talking to another podcaster. Such a nice booming.
It's a nice treat.
Voice.
It's a nice treat.
He's got a good mic presence. I appreciate that. But all right, back half of the show, I do want to take a moment to give a shout out to our show supporter tier patrons: Brittany, J, Matt, MPitts, Terry, David, Chris, Sydney, BaconL, the Noyse, Harry, PokeNavBot, PurplePancakes, DemGearsBeBangin, LadyGooblymeat, SuperNerdFox, Go Ranger Matt, the Phoenix, Baker Boy, Jolt Switch, Alex, the Illustrious Overseer, Jason, Go Live Andrew, Matt from Kentucky, Paul, Justin, and new for this week, Val. Thank you so incredibly much, Val. We really appreciate you joining the party. Also, shout out to Claire for joining at the Discord tier level. Thank you so much for that. And finally, big ass shout out to our executive producer, Paul Bhatt, who won the Sinister Cup that I hosted this past weekend at the Red Tank Brewery in Red Bank, New Jersey. Big ass turnout, big ass party. Paul Bhatt took it home. Did very well. Swept the field.
The Sinister Cup.
He dominated. It was really cool.
Was it a Sinister Cup?
It was a Sinister Cup, yes.
Oh, okay.
All right, we got a bunch of shit to cover. Halloween event 2019. It sounds like Melissa hasn't had the greatest time with it, but we'll recap what's going on with the event. This is coming from PokemonGoLive.com. I'm sure, we're already a couple days in. It was started on the 17th, but we've got new Shadow Pokemon. Some people this might not matter too much, but I dig the Shadow stuff. But we have Weedle, Kakuna, Beedrill, Electabuzz, Magmar, Lapras, Mareep, Seedot, Nuzleaf, Sableye, Trapinch, Cacnea, Shuppet, and Duskull. I'm very excited to find a Shadow Lapras. I think that'd be a badass Pokemon to get. Also, Sableye would probably make a really cool looking Shadow Pokemon. So that's pretty cool. New items are in the Style Shop, a Zubat bag, the Pikachu onesie that Melissa has, you can actually get for your avatar now, which is really cool. A Cubone cap, a Litwick cap, and a Mimikyu bag, all available in the avatar shop now. Let's see. Shiny Yamask had been released worldwide. And now we have some timed stuff. This is from the 17th to November 1st at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Ghost and Dark-type Pokemon spawning more frequently. We're seeing a lot of Ghastly, and
Shuppet. I'd say those are the two primary.
Ghastly and Shuppet I see a ton of right now. Darkrai has been released in Tier 5 raids. Kanto starters plus Pikachu are wearing costumes. Pikachu in the wild wearing a Mimikyu costume, which is totally meta and ironic. And then in raids, you have Charmander as Cubone, Bulbasaur as Shedinja, and Squirtle as Yamask, which is he's like steampunk Squirtle.
I thought he was a magician.
No, totally.
He's got like a steampunk hat. Like he's got like the gentleman's hat, almost like Bill the Butcher. It's like a real tall, boomy 10-gallon hat. It's really cool. There was a raid boss shakeup. Adam, you want to kind of run through these? We got some familiar faces on here, but
of course, I would love to go through this. So in Tier 1 raids, as Ken mentioned, you have the starters, Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle, all wearing their Halloween festive costumes. And then you've got Mischievous, Drifloon, and Clink not wearing costumes. But this is the entire Tier 1 raid system is all shiny Pokemon.
That's cool. Always.
As well as the whole Tier 2 shiny. Because you've got Sneasel, Sableye, Mawile, and Yamask. All can be shiny. So if you see a Tier 1 or Tier 2 raid, you should be raiding these no matter what.
Wasn't Mawile a Tier 3 raid? I think it was a Tier 3.
I feel it's always been 2.
Has it? I don't know.
I feel like it's always been in 2. Yeah, so Tier 3 we have Alolan Raichu, Gengar, Sharpedo, and Skuntank. Not really exciting.
It's not really exciting. If Gengar was a shiny, maybe.
Yeah, like why haven't they given us that back? That like the act genuinely makes me upset.
They should still give it back.
Whatever. And then Tier 4, you've got Marowak, Umbreon, Tyranitar, and Absol. Absol and Alolan Marowak being shiny.
Well, that's the same thing. You could get a shiny Umbreon and Tyranitar, but you can't get them in raids. So it's same kind of effect.
Okay. All right. I get it. And then Tier 5, you have the newly released Darkrai, and then Mewtwo is still in EX raids.
I did one today.
Now.
No shiny. I have one next week as well.
I have a pass. I literally didn't even get the alert. I just looked in my inventory and I have one.
Hey, I got a pass.
Yeah, when is it for? I don't even know.
No, but Tier 1 is always exciting. I think that's, I haven't rated even Tier 1. Like, I just haven't been out. So I definitely have not seen any of these costumed Pokemon. So I do have to get on the horse here with getting out there because I don't want to miss them.
Get on the Galarian Ponyta.
Yes. Well, I don't want to waste a freaking special trade with someone trading a freaking Squirtle. It's like, no, we'll not do that. We also have new research that's related to Halloween. The pretty much standout one here is make 3 excellent throws in a row for a Golett. I can't
fucking do it.
I can't see. I haven't found one of those in the wild at all. Well, three excellence. Really, you got to do it on a legendary because if you do the circle lock, it's much easier to do 3 excellent throws on a.
I'm sorry. Do the what?
Boss on the circle lock. The circle lock.
I'm sorry. The what?
Exactly. It's only been 3 years. Exactly. I've been trying to get you to do that. No, but it's a lot easier getting excellent throws off on a legendary than trying to do it on a fucking Weedle or something where it's like impossible. But there's a couple different tasks there, but that one's really the standout. And then we had the spooky message special research. This was the same as last year. Spoilers, it's Spiritomb. So you can, get through that pretty quick to get Spiritomb. But really the grinding benefit here, double hatch candy, double catch candy, double transfer candy. The transfer candy is huge because if you've been sitting on a bunch of Gen 5, fodder, you can just get rid of that shit and really pile up your candy, which is good, and if you're taking advantage of dropping pineapples too on everything you're catching, you're really stocking up on the candy. But Adam, how's this been?
Or if you're sitting on a bunch of Relicanth from Pokemon Go Worlds.
Yeah, get rid of them and
Worlds,
stock up.
You can just get rid of some of those.
Have you caught any shinies this event so far?
I have not. I have not seen any.
I caught a full odds shiny Yanma in the house the other night. Like it was like full odds. Like what the fuck? Like out of all of them, like why couldn't this be a Pikachu? You know, in the costume. Or something?
I still haven't seen a Yanma.
Yeah, I'd
like to.
Yeah, I want the Sneasel. That's like the number one shiny I really want.
I have 2 of those. I've caught 2 of those.
Well, shit. I have 0 of those. Melissa has 0 of those.
Yeah.
Colossal Discovery. We were talking shit about this last week of how this was going to work. We knew that it had the $7.99 price tag. We have all the details now. Niantic really laid it all out. They even made an FAQ page that I will link in the description. But this is coming from PokemonGoLive.com. Saturday, November 2nd, 11 to 7 p.m. local time, just like what we the data miners dug up. The Reggies are coming back. They could be shiny. I don't know if people are excited about this, but it's just for a weekend. Friday, November 1st through Monday, November 4th at 1 p.m. Pacific time. The Reggies are back. They could be shiny. And then Regigigas, the colossal Pokemon, coming to EX raids a little bit later in November. I'd imagine pretty early in November. We're going to see higher spawns of Geodude, Magnemite, Swinub, Aron, and Spheal. Hatching more will be Aerodactyl, Shuckle, Sneasel, Skarmory, Snorunt, Beldum, and a big one, Shiny Skarmory, being released in the wild. That's pretty exciting. Double Incubator Effectiveness. All this is going to be happening that weekend. But what it really comes down to is this global ticketed event that we've been talking about last week. You pay $7.99. We talked last week if we could use coins on it. You can't. Has to be a $7.99 purchase outright. Can't use coins to get it. You will be challenged with a variety of tasks to earn an encounter with Regigigas. So again, confirming that this is ending with Regigigas. Regigigas will be released in EX raids later. So this is not necessarily behind a paywall. It's just getting it a little bit earlier, similar to Celebi being released at GoFest, and then after GoFest, the Celebi quest is released. So it's just giving you an advantage of time, not really anything else. Let's see. You're going to get an event medal, which is exciting, just like if you went to a GoFest or a Safari Zone. Up to 10 additional raid passes at no cost during the event window. So again, it's not a premium pass. It's a regular raid pass. You can only carry one at a time, but if you do 10 successive raids, you'll get that raid pass every time you spin a gym. You'll get, this is an interesting one, a Unova Stone, a Sinnoh Stone, and an exclusive avatar pose. So now we have 2 items, but the exclusive avatar pose, I like this because it's giving further exclusivity to the event. We don't know when tickets are going to go on sale, but they'll be available through November 2nd, the event day, until 5 p.m. local time. They're purchased directly from the shop, no refunds, and again, they put an FAQ page up together. One excerpt I want to read here directly from that page because this is really exciting and affects me. It says, players with tickets will still be able to access the special research after the event is over, so long as they sign into the event time period, which is 11 to 7 local time, to collect the special research. After the event is over, if you've already received the special research but not have completed it, the special research will change to be less reliant upon the Pokemon encounters and raids available globally during the weekend of the event. There will be no change to the rewards, and there's no time limit to complete it, but the special research must be collected during the event time period. This is fucking brilliant on Niantic's part, because what they're saying is, don't worry, people that can't play on Saturday. As long as you can log in, you can get the research, and you can finish it whenever you want, and it's not going to be tied to catching the Reggies or catching extra Geodudes or whatever extra event Pokemon are there. They're going to change it up so you still get Regigigas early. You just don't have to finish it by 7 p.m. on Saturday the 2nd. It's huge. So pretty much what that means is I'm giving them my $8. Adam, how do you feel about hearing all this stuff? I was just going to say, what are your feelings?
So you're in the camp that you are 100% confirmed purchasing this.
I'm on board 100%. Even knowing, like, if I could play, it would be, no brainer. But hearing that I could finish this at my own pace, that sealed the deal for me. I was like, yep, fuck it, I'm in.
So I'm not sure how I'm supposed to feel about this, because like I'm in the camp where I don't know if I want to not purchase it. So at least I have that perspective, so I can have the perspective as far as like coverage goes.
Are you telling me you're not going to buy this? Come on, like.
Well, after looking at all of the purchases that I've made, it hurts. So I'm like,
but this isn't buying, items. This is an event.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm conflicted. I don't know if I want to go ahead and just full on go for it, or just experience it with the not purchasing it, because there's still an event going on, correct?
Yeah,
I'm
for
still
the weekend,
right? Yeah, I'm still getting the ability to catch.
But you're not.
Okay.
See, but you're not going to get Regigigas.
So at least I have that perspective.
But you're not going to get Regigigas early.
I don't need it. It's not good. I can't leave it in a gym and be cool.
I don't think.
You know what I mean?
I don't think any of the Reggies are really that cool.
I can't use it in PvP unless they give me a 1,500 or less. So is it really worth it?
You get a medal and an exclusive pose and a Unova stone.
But I don't have a pose currently.
Well, there you go. That's what I'm saying. See? Then, and if you're... Well, are you working this Saturday? You are, right?
This Saturday?
No, the Saturday of the 2nd of the event. Right. So...
Yes.
Look, I think that this can potentially be the future of Niantic events, where you're able to pretty much put an incense around a trainer for event spawns. And knowing that I could do this on my time and I can buy this thing, get my medal, get my pose, get my Unova stone, and then Sunday, the next day, the 3rd, when I'm off, I can actually play and complete the research and grind out the research. That's very attractive to me. So I'm all for it, man. It's interesting that you feel this way, man. I figured you'd still be in 100% no matter what. It's interesting.
I don't know.
It's because you added up. It's because you added up all your receipts.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
I feel
maybe.
I feel it.
We'll see.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure you're going to be buying it. I'll wait for the screenshot of the medal that you post. Like, oh, here we go. But hey, everyone, just a heads up. Melissa dropped off the call. She wasn't feeling well, so she's going to bow out for the rest of the episode. Just to give you guys a heads up. All right, moving on. Wayfarer. It's kind of here, sort of, kind of. It's live in Mexico, Germany. I did see one report of Denmark as well. But coming from Pokemon Go Live, I'll put the link in the description. Things are happening. People are utilizing the system right now, and they're loving it. Our good friend from Mexico, Pelo Pogo, who is an AR photographer, very active on social, he's been loving the system, utilizing it pretty much as heavily as he possibly can. We're going to have him potentially on, we might do some Instagram live video with him so we can kind of talk about how that process has gone for him. Because what I've noticed online, especially on Reddit, is they're creating like a community of these Wayfarer, I think, what were they calling them? The name of the users? I forget they had like an actual name. But these people are like really getting organized with how they're utilizing the tool. So it's really freaking cool. And I can't wait for this to get, pushed out to the rest of the world. I think this is going to be game changing for rural players that can really take charge of creating these way spots in their, local regions. It's probably I think this is probably more important to the game than most people lead on to think, because I really think this is going to change the landscape. Like, where is your head at with this whole thing? Like, are you excited? Are you going to be taking part in this?
I am so excited, because it would be nice to, because like just today I was driving because I went to pick up pumpkins today. So I went to a local farm, and it's like, that's an amazing place. Even just their, like the front of their driveway type thing would be nice to be able to put a Pokestop. Not necessarily the farm, because You don't necessarily need, drama there, or, a gym or something, but it would be nice to have put something there as like a landmark, like, cool, I went there.
Well, that's the whole point. Now you're going to be able to take control of that.
Yeah, and it's like, it's in an area where there's not many stops at all.
I don't know if necessarily this is going to, like, things are going to still have to follow the same rules that we've been used to with the S2 cells and things like that. It's going to be interesting to see how it works. Because if this is just like a real open book here of, finding a cool spot and submitting it, it's, I don't know. I think this is really going to change the landscape of the game for the better, and get the community more involved with the actual local geographic community, which, and take the position of the community member away from an online position and more of a, a real life thing. I'm all for it. I'm so freaking psyched for this. I think it's going to be awesome. All right, what else we got here? We got some miscellaneous news to cover before we get into some emails and then a battle party for Darkrai. But there's a lot of miscellaneous news here. Evolved Gen 3 Pokemon spawning in the wild. I haven't seen any, but people are finding Sceptile, Blaziken, Swampert, Aggron, Solomons, Slacking, Ludicolo, Exploud, Shiftry, Manectric, Flygon, all being spotted in the wild, in addition to Gen 1 and Gen 2 evolved Pokemon, which is pretty cool. So that's exciting. There's new boxes in the store. All I'm going to say about it is they have Pineapps and Max Revives in them. So I won't support this, and I don't think you should either. So I'm not even going to talk about what's in them, because it's just like, why are they putting Pineapps and Max Revives in paid boxes? Like, come on, that's just not cool.
I have like 400 plus Max Revives.
No way, man. It's like, I'm so stocked on balls right now. I'm keeping all my items at a low, but it's like, I don't need to purchase this stuff. I don't want my money going towards stuff that I can get for free that, I have excess of, and pretty, it's not cool. Not cool, man. The Ferocious Cup has been announced by the Silpharina. This is the November meta. It's very interesting. Not based on type. Get this description. Land-based Pokemon that walk on 4 legs or 2 legs with a tail. No monkeys, humanoids, or amphibian-based Pokemon. And there's some exceptions. I'll put a link in the description to the Sylph description so you can see exactly who's in the list. More coverage on this to come. I don't want to get into it too deep right now, because it is a very, very complex meta. Details are just starting to emerge of what people are going to be doing with it. So I'm going to let that simmer a bit, and we'll talk about that as we get a little bit closer and into the month of November. But very, very cool the way the Sylph metas are evolving and moving away from basic types and going to different conditions like this. I'm all for it. Oh, shout out to Zoe. 2 dots, kind words at the beginning of her latest video. Adam sent a nice package. Why don't you talk about that, how that whole thing went down for you, Adam?
So first off, Zoe, I apologize that it took so long. Everything was in like my suitcase, and it's just, with my work schedule, me being able to get to the post office just is never a good time. But I did get it to you, so I apologize again for it being so late. But it was a long sleeve Team Rocket shirt from Worlds, and then it was one of the Worlds like little, I don't know, microfiber cloths that has all the typing advantages on it. And then I made her a Perler Togepi bow.
You're so cute. But no, shout to Zoe for the kind words, and shouting out Adam at the beginning of her ZTD news episode. I'll put the link in the description.
Yeah, we got to get her back on the show.
She's definitely awesome. Let's jump over to a Go Ranger check-in real quick.
What's up, everybody? It is Go Ranger Matt, and this is the Go Ranger check-in.
All right, just to recap some dates. Halloween event ends Friday, November 1st. The Reggie's coming back also Friday, November 1st. The Colossal Discovery, Saturday, November 2nd. And then a couple weeks out, we have Chimchar as the next community day, November 16th, Saturday. What do you think about Chimchar? I mean, we knew it was coming, but...
Well, I'm not monkeying around. I'm pretty sure we're going to have an exclusive fighting move.
You think it's going to be fighting?
I hope so. Like, I get it, he's the fire star, but like, come on. If there's one, he's been fighting a lot in the TCG. So, I'm hoping there's a fighting exclusive move.
Because Blaziken can learn what, right? Blaziken, let me look at my...
Blaze Kick?
It's Blaze Kick is the fighting move?
I believe,
because I know he can learn like Brave Bird. Yeah, but I think it's Blaze Kick is the fighting. Yeah, I don't know. But it's look, there's diversity here with these fire fightings. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what move comes, but we'll have to see. Probably 2 weeks away from finding out the exclusive move still. All right, we got some emails here. First one from Pidgeygrabba. Adam, you want to kind of read through Pidgeygrabba's little note here? And it's too bad Melissa's not here to hear this.
Yes,
but, I'll have to let her know afterwards.
He said, I wanted Melissa to know Mrs. Grabba and I played Dratini Community Day back in February 2018. She and I checked the same 120 plus Dratini. I caught 3 shiny, she caught 0. We went hard for all 3 hours at a nearby park, and it did not feel good when I or anyone around us got a shiny, and she didn't. Hang in there. Congratulations on 100 episodes. I have listened since the beginning with Pokemon Go Radio introduced me to Gotta Watch 'Em All. I currently listen to at least 3 Pokemon Go specific podcasts, as well as 6 YouTubers. I don't need to get my news from you guys, but you deliver an interesting format, good to listen to, good insights, funny and serious, great guests, and real talk about playing on the toilet. Keep up the good work.
So good. Pidgeygrabba, thank you for writing in, man. That's awesome. We appreciate it. We're definitely really proud of the 100 episode thing. It's a cool milestone and achievement. Next email, this one's coming from Chris Dad. It says, "Hi Ken, Adam, and Melissa. You guys are all fantastic. I just listened to episode 100, props, and I really enjoy the insight and perspective of Josh, my 11-year-old. I was not a fan of Pokemon until my son, who's now 14, convinced me to play Go, and it has been very rewarding for both of us. But I've realized that it is a much different experience for kids versus adults. Josh raised a few of those concerns, friends lists, EX raids, but it's truly hard for kids to stay engaged with Go, especially if their parents don't play. Josh giving voice to these examples was a good reminder of how the Go community needs to keep the game fresh and accessible for kids also, and I would enjoy hearing more from him. Many thanks, Chris Dad." Thanks, dude.
That's awesome.
He's going to be very excited to hear that. And not for nothing, before we recorded, and I was just on the line with Chris from GoCast, he said the same thing. He was like, "Dude, your son's awesome." It was a pleasure to hear. So I'm glad everyone definitely enjoyed having him on. He had a good time. It was great. All right, Adam, we can dig into this raid guide now and battle party.
And it's a what?
Battle party! Woo! Woo! Battle party! Woo! Woo! Yeah!
All right, coming from PokemonGoHub.net, this is where we're getting this information. Darkrai is a pure dark type. It's weak to fighting fairy and bug moves. 65,675 CP. What the hell? So a lot of people were saying, like, what the hell? This is like a tier 6 raid boss. Really what it comes down to is this Pokemon has 22,500 hit points. So this is a big, beefy Pokemon. Decent attack stat. And also just beefy as hell. So people are like, this really should be tier 6. I don't agree with that because you could trio it still. I mean, if you have the right counters with the right conditions, you could still trio it. So it's not like you need a group of 12 to finish this thing. 4 to 7, you should be golden if you all have been champs. But let me talk about the perfect here. Perfect catch, 2136 at level 20 and 2671 boosted in fog at level 25. So again, 2136 or 2671. Fast moves it can learn are Snarl and Feint Attack. GoHub did some analysis on this. Really no difference between the two. One has a little bit of a higher DPS. One gives you more energy return, but when the way it balances out, they're pretty much the same. Charge moves can be Dark Pulse, Shadow Ball, Focus Blast. Shadow Ball is really the one you want to look out for, but you might want to make some adjustments based on the charge move, like looking at your recommended. If it has Dark Pulse, you probably want to use your fighting. If it has Focus Blast, you kind of want to lean Fairy because it'll have resistance to that. The interesting thing about Darkrai, can be transferred, but not traded. So this is kind of a little bit weird when it comes to this is a mythical Pokemon, but you can still, transfer it. Kind of weird. The best counters are going to be Machamp with counter Dynamic Punch, Togekiss with Charm, Dazzling Gleam, especially now that you can get that Charm fast move and have Stab on fast and charge. Togekiss is up there. Hariyama with Counter Dynamic Punch, Toxicroak, Counter Dynamic Punch, Heracross, Counter Close Combat. You can also use Breloom, Blaziken, Granbull, Gardevoir, Emboar. If you want to do some bugs, Yanmega, Pinsir, and Scizor. I'm lame. If I'm looking to beat this thing and beat it quick, I'm just bringing 6 Machamps. I have 100% Machamp. I've got a bunch of high 90s. They're stacked. They're powered up. It'll be easy to just crush this thing. But if I do have a big party and I can get creative, I'd like to bring all bugs here. 2 Yanmega, 2 Pinsir, 2 Scizor. Nothing fancy, but just cool to get, some use out of the bugs because I typically don't have an opportunity to do that. So, Adam, what about you? You bringing 6 Machamp?
Well, I have 100% Hariyama with Counter Dynamic Punch, and then I have 100% Yanmega, so I'm definitely bringing those 2. And I'd say 4 other Machamps.
All right, cool. Well, Adam, that's going to do it. That's a show.
That is a show.
Thank you guys for writing in. Checking out. Yes, thank you for writing in, Pidgegrabba and Kristad. We appreciate you getting involved. GoCast Chris, thanks again. Links are in the descriptions. Also, Secret League pins are available at the Secret League store. Link in the description as well. Email us, info@luredup.com. You can leave us a voicemail, 732-835-8639. Check out luredup.com for everything we're doing. PokemonProfessor.com for everything that's going on in the channel. We'll see everybody next week. Adam, you got anything else?
No, just keep training, trainers.
Keep training, trainers. We'll see you all next week. Take care.